I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
LifeAdviceRR@gmail.com. All right, we'll get a couple in. Our man's checking in, 5'10", 170. Lean. Hope all is well. Although 5'10", 170, Srudy, what do you weigh?
I'm 5'10", just a shade under 160, so a little slimmer than this guy.
Lithe. You have that soccer endurance body.
You know, a lot of like Peloton workouts that aren't really for bulking, you know, mostly just stretching out the muscles, trying to look lean.
Yeah, no, that's all. You've never been about bulking. You've been always pretty straightforward about that. I got to ask, are you one of those soccer guys who thinks like Westbrook wouldn't be good because he's too tall?
No.
Okay.
I mean, there is value in having a low center of gravity. Like one of the Messi's 5'7", and like he wouldn't be Messi if he was 6 foot. You know?
Yeah. No, I'm not going to dispute that because I don't know what I'm talking about, but I think there's some science in there where it makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo is 6'2", so it's like this is the best of both. You could have either way.
Right.
Like LeBron at 6'8". There was a guy named Peter Crouch who played for England who was like 6'7", and he was just tall and lanky. He used to head a bunch of balls in. That's how he scored his goals. But there aren't too many of those guys out there. Most of those guys are goalkeepers.
Ibrahimovic, how tall is he?
Probably like 6'4". He's tall, big dude. Pretty cocky.
I watched him play. It wasn't that exciting.
Really? What? Would you for the Galaxy?
Yeah.
He had like a karate chop goal. It was one of the coolest goals I've ever seen. I don't even like the guy.
Oh, you don't?
No, he's too cocky for me, man. I don't know.
A little too much for you?
Yeah, it's too much. He disrespected MLS coming in and thinking he was bigger and badder than everybody else. I don't know. I don't like that guy.
That's kind of his deal. I mean, you know the story about how LeBron sent him a LeBron jersey when he got to the Galaxy, and he signed the LeBron jersey and mailed it back to him.
Actually, that's pretty awesome. I hadn't heard that.
That's the story.
He talks about himself in the third person. Like it's a bit, but it's I don't know. If he's on your team, you probably love him. He hasn't been on any of my teams.
I think what I didn't. Your man Kevin was at the game, and I was like, oh man, I should get a picture of him with Cerruti, but I'm not big on. I've kind of had rules. I've gotten older. I'm not a big get a picture with you guy. I don't know that I've ever been, but I'm like, if this guy does not care about our encounter, then I'm not gonna start the encounter. Because this guy's gonna be like, hey, I don't care. Cool. So do you think De Bruyne was gonna be like, it's great meeting you? So I didn't. But yeah, I think with Ibrahimovic, I'm gonna dare to do this, but it felt like he controlled the center of the field, and it was really impressive how like he would kind of get you into transition and get you set up and all these things he was doing. But if you didn't really know what you were looking at, it could look like he was just sort of dangling in the middle of the field the entire time. And I don't know, was that a fair assessment, or am I totally off on that?
I think a fair assessment of his time in MLS would be he didn't really care that much, and that's how good he is.
Okay, there you go. That's maybe what I saw. I was trying to be a little.
So I think you're onto something.
Here. All right. Enough soccer. We didn't mean to do that much soccer. We apologize.
Wait, Super League? We don't want to hit on the Super League? No, I'm just kidding.
I wish I was watching it because I actually do love that stuff, but I don't have the time. I'm a writer. Okay, here we go. 570, we got that part. Hope all is well. In the process of planning my bachelor party in Nashville. Good choice. The only issue is that my best man, most of my bachelor party, and also myself have never attended a bachelor party before. Any advice from your experiences regarding what to do and what not to do? Also want Kyle to chime in. All right. Look, you've hung out before and drank in another town, right? I mean, that's pretty much what you're going to do. I don't schedule super early golf. It's stupid. Half the guys don't want to do it unless you're super golf guys and you're going to go to bed a little bit earlier because you care about the golf the next day. And if you do, great, good for you guys. But my experience has been always more than half the group would rather stay out late. And then when you have to get up that early for tea time, because you're like, oh, it's the only available tea time, then don't do it. Who would ever go somewhere with their buddies to have a ton of fun? And then it's like, okay, but by the way, like after the first night, we all have to be out of the hotel at 7 a.m. because of our tea time, and then guys start drinking early and then you've ruined that next night. Cause it's just, most people don't have that kind of pace or don't aspire to ever have that kind of pace. So that's part of it. And then we've been over this a little bit before, but I know everybody always wants to kind of do the right thing. And sometimes it does work, but the math on number of times it was a successful bachelor party where you invited a guy that nobody else knew because it's your wife's brother or one of those deals, or hey, this guy's in the wedding parties, this cousin, or there's this older guy that wants to hang out. Sometimes the older guy can be great, but a lot of times that older guy is so fired up to hang out with like young, irresponsible guys that he's like off the rails way too early. And then, he gets like an early flight. Nobody knows where he is because he's got the weird so hard because the science on his body post 27 is just different. So he like feels weird about himself, and he may have not even done anything that bad, but just, that's the science of it all. So I would keep it to the core group if you can. I'm not saying it's impossible to have a non-core guy, but we've been over this. It's you're not setting yourself up for success by doing that. And, you can say, hey, let's plan. It's nice if you have one guy in the group that's a bit of a planner, but don't let somebody be an over planner where you feel like it's this itinerary and you're doing wine country and like every day, you got to make sure you're out of a certain place by an hour. I don't know if paintball works. Some people like it, some people don't. I think one activity, not too early, and then one dinner lounge thing. I don't know what the regulations are in Nashville. I imagine some of the southern states, they've given up on this whole deal. So you probably get away with a little bit more there. And also make sure everybody's staying in the same hotel. When guys start going like, oh no, there's a hot wire, I got a 2-for-1 at an extra night, then that guy, it sucks because then you're not in the hotel with everybody else. And that's kind of where the late weird fun stuff happens where, maybe do that. Have one guy out of the group. It should be you, or maybe you don't want it because you want to get away from everybody else. But it's always great if one guy from the group, and maybe everybody kicks in for it, gets a bigger hotel suite type room. So you kind of have a home base as you recover during the day, pregame, or then come back late at night and have an option. So that's actually probably the best advice that I can give you is when you're doing some sort of bachelor party, we usually would have one friend that was rich enough, and it was never me, trust me, that would splurge for like a 2-bedroom suite, balcony, whole deal in whatever town that we went to. So there was always kind of a home base. So I always think that's important. Kyle, feel free to add.
I've never been to a wedding. Well, I've been to one when I was 11. I was going to have my first bachelor party back when I was asking you about, should I deviate from the registry list? And you were like, no, don't do that. So I haven't been to a bachelor party, so I don't really have much to say other than when I do go to this bachelor party, I'm like one of his best buds, and, classic, moved away when he was like in like 6th grade, and we stayed in touch, but like, his friends are not the kind of people I would hang out with, and I'm going to be the only guy like myself that's going to be at that bachelor party. So it could get weird. I think I would be considered a non-core guy for the rest of his like redneck buddies. Probably. I'd probably be the guy that you don't want to see.
No, I think you're a chameleon socially. I think you can adapt to a lot of things. Like, would I bring you to the Met Gala? No.
Sure.
But
fair.
I think below that level, look, I don't even think I don't know that I would be a great fit there. I'd be leaving being like, hey, I'm probably going to Uber out of here, hit up a couple dives. But,
every time I would go hang out with him and go like take the trip up to see him, like, he's like, all right, we're going to go out. We're going to go to my buddy's house. We're like pre-gaming in some guy's fucking garage, and it just smells like motor oil. And it's like, oh my God, everybody's got boots on and their pants have paint on them or whatever. And it's like, yeah. And then we're just going to go out to the bar. It's like, you guys just live different. So I feel
but
like
you know what? I think you should appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, every time I have
King
a
of the
good time.
Hill approach.
Yeah.
You know what we could do is ask Cerruti, the one guy who's married here and has had a bachelor party. So Cerruti?
Yeah, I kept it core. It was 7. I don't. Did I invite you? I don't even remember. I don't think I invited you, Ryan.
No, and trust me, I don't.
I think the dudes were wondering, hey, is Russillo going to come? And I was like, first off, he'd be miserable the entire time. We went up like middle of nowhere, Millinocket, Maine, just rented a huge house on a lake and just got after it for a weekend, and it was awesome.
You don't.
But
want me at that.
But it was core. Like you probably would have skipped the whitewater rafting trip. That's the one thing we did that was dope. But I wouldn't.
I like whitewater rafting. I've done it.
I wouldn't have gone outside like if it was more than what I had there and we started getting to like some second tier friends, it wouldn't have been as fun. So I'm 100% with you guys. My thing is, Kyle, you've been to one wedding?
I was 11. I think I was 11.
Damn.
It was like the first time I ever got a little tipsy.
Wait,
too.
How old are you? Wait, you got drunk at 11?
No. It was like, I didn't get drunk, but it was like champagne, like the prefixed tables, sort of like everybody's got a glass of champagne and people just kind of move tables. It was like me and like 3 other kids, and there was like 7 glasses of champagne. It was pretty sparkling exciting. But yeah, that's the only wedding I've ever been to. There's a picture of my aunt like hiking her dress up on the floor to get me off the floor because I was like dancing crazy. But that was the only wedding I've ever been to. I was really excited for this one, and it got pushed because of COVID.
Okay. I
That's
don't
insane.
I mean,
I-
Kyle just amazes every week. Every week, I don't think it can get better.
Single
Sorry.
parents, you end up getting away from them.
I got to tell you, Kyle, this actually surprised me a bit. How old are you?
27.
27?
I just have
You haven't
friends that
been
don't get married. I've got plenty of people who I'm like an uncle to their kids, but they've never gotten married. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. All right.
They skip
All right.
that
Because
part.
I think, knowing you well enough, I would think you're the guy that your friends would want to invite to the wedding. Because I do think there's some weird stuff. I remember there was a girl that I hung out with very briefly, and she, was over 30, and she had said she'd never been invited to a wedding. And then I found out later on the person was a psychopath. And so I was like, oh, this all adds up. No one likes you. Like, nobody likes you. And if you're of a certain age, and yes, there can be different dynamics specific to Kyle, and you're still young enough. But I mean, if you've been invited to no weddings and you're over 30 and you think you have a lot of friends, you actually probably don't have a lot of friends, or a lot of people like you. So this life advice has gone on maybe a really depressing. There's probably a person listening to this right now going, oh my God. Like everybody was like, oh yeah, we're keeping it small. I had a buddy. I told you guys about the guy, one of my friends from Colorado, who had a roommate, which I know is not rare. It was two guys living together, and the other guy that I'm not as close with got invited to a wedding, and it was +1, like most weddings are. And I remember being dumb enough in some of the earlier weddings where I was like, oh, I'm not bringing anybody, so I may just bring a date. And the guy was like, no, it's my wedding. It's small. If you're serious about somebody, bring them. Are you serious about this person? I was like, well, I haven't even really decided who I was going to ask. He's like, yeah, so that's a no. Like, don't do that. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just was stupid. I didn't know any better. So this is even dumber, is that the one guy gets an invite and then says to my buddy, who's his roommate, he's like, hey, do you want to go to Ted's wedding today? And he's like, yeah, done. Love Ted. Throws on a blazer and a tie. The guy's coming down the aisle, and gets up, standing up, waiting for his wife to be walked down by the dad. And my buddy gives him like a thumbs up, like, yeah, dude. And the guy looks at him like, what? Like, looks at him, double takes. And now my friend's like super self-conscious, going, why did the guy just give me that kind of look? Like, what is going on? And then he realized, he came up to him after the vows and said, hey, dude, you're not invited. Like, I invited your buddy, your roommate, but he never RSVP'd. So he was just, we thought, like, there's not going to be any food for you. Like, there will not be a plate. And he was basically kind of also being pissed, being like, I'm not even that close with you. And you just showed up to my wedding because my friend, your idiot roommate, was like, hey, do you just want to stop by Ted's wedding for a bit this afternoon? Open bar. And, that's what a lot of us, even with the decent education, younger socially, just do dumb stuff, do dumb stuff like that.
+1 is a murky situation. I'll admit.
What's that?
+1 is just a murky situation. It's hard to understand what that means when nobody actually explains it to you.
It's actually not. I will admit I didn't understand it, but it isn't that murky. It's,
all right.
You can bring somebody, this isn't, look, some people just straight up bring dates, and some people are okay with it. I would tell you, if it's a smaller, kind of nicer wedding, there's going to be somebody that's getting married, either the bride or the groom, that's going to be like, we don't want you just bringing somebody by that you met at Buffalo Wild Wings. But again, you never know.
See,
you find
would
love in a
disagree
lot
with
of
that,
places.
though. I would disagree.
Oh,
I
no
think,
kidding.
I think you have to read the vibe of the wedding, who the people are, and how many people you think are going to go. Because if it's a massive wedding, chances are that person just wants a ton of people at their wedding. But if it's smaller, and they don't even care who the person, like, I've had plenty of buddies who just brought another buddy or brought some random person.
No kidding.
They got
All
a +1 and probably shouldn't even got a +1 in the first place. These people just wanted to have a huge wedding. But then there are other people who want to keep it tight, want to keep it small. So if you get a +1, that person, there are sometimes rules where it's like, if you haven't been dating for 6 months to a year, then you don't even get a +1. So there are people, it's just, you got to read the room on this.
There's way more of that in my group over the years. And again, all of these guys have all been married now for a long time, but it was if I were single, it was understood. They were like, you're not bringing anybody. And I'm like, no, I get it. And then, I mean, I went to one that was like a social gathering. Like it was it was written up, and it was a black tie. It was a big deal, but I was seeing somebody, so it wasn't an issue. But I was going to be told, like, you're not bringing somebody to this if you're not serious about it. I'm like, well, how serious? Define serious.
So that's
All
just
right,
like an
let's get to a
event.
couple.
You're just talking about an event. I'm sorry. I know you're trying to get off of this. You're talking about a regular event. You weren't. That wasn't.
It was a wedding.
Oh, that was.
It was a wedding.
I was going to say.
I'm talking. It was a wedding, but it was also like built up. It was something that was on the radar of like the city that hosted it. It was a big deal.
All right. I rest my case.
Yeah.
Murky.
Okay. Maybe we didn't come up with anything, but I do like the idea of every bachelor party having one main room that's a little bit bigger for everybody to kind of just home base it. Okay, 21 years old, 6'1", D3 tennis player, decent serve, effective at the net, ground stroke game that leaves a lot to be desired. All right, noted. Recently got into an enjoyable weekly men's pickup league. Guys are a bit older than me, but still a young athletic group that puts together solid runs every Sunday night. Only 15 guys are allowed in the gym every week, so you have to reserve a spot with the coordinator. He then predetermines 3 teams of 5 so we can get there and start playing. It's quite nice and efficient. Sounds like it. Problem is, he keeps putting me on a team with one guy I can't stand. Let's call him Russ. Russ is the most talented player there, but is an absolute brutal guy to play with. Shoots a ton. Is this Russell Westbrook? Who are we talking? Did you guys see Russell Westbrook the other night? Apparently, he has the best clutch stats in the NBA right now. That doesn't make any sense. It was funny, too, to see him be like, yeah, whatever. Like, I knew that. I know how good I am. I'm like, does that include defensive gambles that fuck up the team all the time? I don't think it does. So I don't think this is Westbrook. Anyway, he shoots a ton. It's basically cardio for everybody else that's on his team for 2.5 hours. If you're lucky enough to get the ball, but unfortunately make a miss, Russ will let you know about it under his breath. Russ is constantly screaming about picking up defense and being smarter with the ball. Last week, I get caught in the air with the ball along the baseline and turned it over, which costs the game. Russ yelled at me like we had dedicated our entire life to this pickup game, and I just cost us a trip to the Western Conference Finals. He proceeded to kick a door, just an incredibly unreal scene for Russ. Feels a lot like Westbrook. At first, these antics didn't bother me, but now when I'm on his team, I have no desire to show up for that week. I can't confront him because I'm the new guy, 4 inches shorter, and wear glasses to play. Should I ask the coordinator to not put me on his team? Is this too much? I'm sure other guys do not love playing with him, but do not say anything. So maybe I should just stick it out for the few hours every week and get over it. Maybe I should just start talking a ton of shit next week and draw a punch from him so he's kicked out of the league. Seriously, what can I do? I really like this league, and it's a consistent source of fun basketball, so I don't want to lose it. All right, a lot of problems here. I think you got to say something. Clearly, it's not in your demeanor to say something to him. If you said you're 6'1" and he's that much bigger than you, then he's clearly a pretty big guy. You said he's the best player. No one says anything to him. I don't know. I mean, look, you're right. Other guys probably can't stand playing with him either. I remember, look, I've been in a bunch of different leagues, the leagues that weren't really leagues, that kind of thing. And I remember like one group, it wasn't my group. They were older guys. It was a terrific run. Some of these guys are still really good players, despite the age deal. And you're always going to get into it at some point. Guys are being competitive, testosterone and all that stuff. Some guys are getting injected with testosterone that are older dudes. And I didn't pay because I didn't really go there that much. And I didn't have the time to, but I still love to be able to go to this place and get a run. And I knew the athletic director. So he was like, yeah, whenever you want to show up, don't feel bad. And honestly, it wasn't like some super fancy place you had to pay a ton of money to. And I started barking with the other guy a little bit. I mean, he was 60 and he was a dentist and he's an asshole of a guy. It still bothers me even thinking about the question where he actually used in the argument over a call. He's like, whatever. He's like, you don't even pay. You don't even pay to be here. And so I just was like, where do you think this is going to go? Where do you think this is going to go? And a lot of guys took his side because they'd all been playing together for years. And I'm this young brute showing up, probably taking it a little too seriously at times. But I was always good to play with. I wasn't like a guy that would just take a million shots. Gottlieb's one of the single most usage guys. I mean, Gottlieb's a terrific, terrific basketball player, but there would be certain pickup games with him. You were like, okay, well, no one else is going to shoot right now. And it's not always fun, but because you're the new guy, I get why you're going through that as the new guy. But what I would do, and we're not liable if you get your ass kicked, I would just say something to him next time. Because if you don't say anything to a bully, they're just going to keep doing it over and over again. I mean, chances are you're not going to end up getting a fight with this guy, but you could just say something next time he yells at you, which is definitely going to happen again. You can say, hey, good. Hey, man, like, I get it. This is your game. You're a terrific player, but you can save that shit fucking yelling at me, giving me a hard time because I made a fucking mistake in a pickup game. All right? That's it. It's over. You're not saying that shit to me anymore. Now, if you get your ass kicked, I'm sorry. And then you're never going to want to show up again because you're going to be embarrassed. And there you go. Problem solved as well, because now you don't have to play with him anymore. I don't know if you want to go to the guy organizing it as the new guy this soon and say, hey, I mean, there's another reason why you're probably on the team with him is because a bunch of other guys can't stand it, and you're the new guy. Lowest on the totem pole, he gets to play with Russ. So there you go. Okay, big pod today. Very big. Got 3 coming next week. Carson Palmer, another draft story, a couple other things planned. I want to thank Steve Cerruti and, of course, Kyle Crichton, my longtime guy here, for helping get the podcast out every, 3 days a week. So please subscribe, spread the word. Thanks for listening.